Connie Willis, the podcast. Taking you into new ways of thinking, even providing answers to questions you've often pondered. Connie Willis, the podcast. This is a Connie Willis exclusive. What you're about to hear has never been heard anywhere else. This is Connie Willis, the podcast.
Connie Willis, the podcast. Find me, Connie Willis, at conniewillis.com. Blue Rock Talk, Connie After Dark, and of course on Coast to Coast AM. Okay, Rob Treat is who we're with. You can go to his blog, ask him the questions that you want to ask, and ask him how you can help too. For those of you that are going, hey, Connie, how do I help? Go to robtreat.com and you can do that. We got more questions coming up. Beforehand, though, we're at the story, another climax here.
Yeah, the plan is a staged alien invasion. So
they're going to have it. They're going to fake it first, and then the real ones are going to be like.
Yeah, the goal the driving agenda, the high priority is to get the technology there, where they can stage this alien invasion before the real ones show up. Because for them, it's all about control. One of their big fears is that, the aliens are going to show up and, that our lives are going to change for the better. They don't want that. They want to be in control. So they've tried, various things technologically, everything from actually trying to build UFOs, to there's even there's airships, like big inflatable UFOs, big balloons, right? But frankly, those aren't going to fool anybody, especially not now. As we've become used to technology, we've also become used to spotting fakes. And if they tried to float a UFO balloon over us, like, everybody would cry foul. A few people would believe it, but most wouldn't. So the technology that they're banking on is hologramic technology. Trying to project, a realistic UFO in the sky. Frankly, as I've said repeatedly, their plans don't work out. I think they would have done it already if they could have. COVID was like an intervention, a way to kind of interrupt society while they bought themselves more time to get this technology off the ground. I feel like they're running out of time. I can't say that conclusively, but it does seem to be desperation time for them. So I'm thinking that the day of reckoning, that the aliens may be here very soon. But I think we all feel like that throughout countless generations, that, the end is in our generation. Hundreds of years later, we're still doing it. So we may have hundreds of years, and it may be next week.
This is a Connie Willis exclusive on Connie Willis, the podcast. Learn more about Connie, her guests, and join her private membership shows, Blue Rock Talk and Connie After Dark, at conniewillis.com.
When they pull it off, that they'll have some alien lookalikes, probably through some sort of genetic engineering, that come out and tell us to obey our masters. Listen to your rulers; they know best what's for you. Yeah, and there is a precedent for us faking this kind of thing, like Valiant Thor. I'm sure a lot of people in the UFO community have heard about Valiant Thor. Complete and utter BS. Like, this guy steps out of a 300-foot spaceship in front of two cops and says, "Hi, I'm Steve from Venus." And he's wearing a shiny spacesuit and says, "Take me to the president." Aliens would travel across the universe thousands of light years and say, "Take us to the president of the United States," like he's somebody. I'm not saying that there never was an alien named Valiant Thor. I'm saying that whatever story they put out about it is completely fake. And the pictures of Valiant Thor are also fake. I have a file somewhere with the guy's real name in there. And these are the things that people laugh about. And, me and Glenn and Randolph and Mike and a few other people, we'd have like our, a few times a month, we'd have our meetings there at our office in Woodland Hills, California. And we talk about some stuff like this, and when I would ask a question in these meetings, "Hey, is such and such real?" and everybody else in the room starts sniggering. I'm like, okay, I feel like an idiot now. They all know it's not true.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, what are your thoughts with the Majestic 12? What is your relationship to that?
Now the Majestic 12, um, I can get behind that as being a legitimate thing.
Were you a part
Um,
of that in any way or relationship to it?
no, that was way before my time. I'm not that old.
Well, I mean, I don't mean like sitting at the table, but I mean, you have access to anything or any knowledge of what was spoken about and things that none of us would know.
No, just the same stories as everybody else has heard.
Okay.
Anybody that's ever been like in the UFO thing. In fact, I'm sure most of your listeners probably have heard more stories than I have about it. Um, but the fact that Eisenhower was involved, and Eisenhower is not a guy that plays games. Okay, and the other one was Forstall, and what happened to him. The, the fact that Eisenhower was involved and Forstall's suicide, made me think that there was definitely something, to the whole Majestic 12 thing. So, if I had to render an opinion, I would say that that's real.
Jim H. from going back to the questions, Jim H. from New York wants to know which race of ETs are carnivores? If so, do they consume other races like humans?
Um, I don't know what the Greys eat. I've never seen them eat. Um, and what we call the Plajarans, what I call the forerunners, the founding race. Um, I don't know what they eat, but clearly there was when I saw their home environment, there were fields, there was produce. Um, I didn't see meat or food animals. With the forerunner race, I saw vegetation. Um, I'm sure they do consume some kind of animal. The reptilians definitely do because I've seen them eat. And
Did they
they
eat human?
I didn't see them eat human. I'm not ruling it out with them. I know they like human blood. Do they kill to get it? I don't know. Are they more vampiric where they like their victims to stay alive? Um, yeah, I'm sure they have killed to eat. I'm sure they do. I didn't witness it, but I did witness them, you know, eating, primarily, sushi, steak tartare. That was my first experience
Hmm.
with steak tartare. I knew what it was. Never had it before. Never will again. Um, but yeah, the reptilians eat meat and they seem to like it raw.
Steak tartare is good if it's done right.
I don't like the
It's got to be
texture.
cut right. Yeah, it's all about texture. I know it. I know it. As a culinarian student, I absolutely know and graduate.
Okay.
Bill Johnson from South Carolina wants to know. I'm just going to try to get through as many of these as we can. So, um, because you and I are running out of time here, and I know we're both losing our voice. We're trying to get it to everybody, but let's zoom through a lot of these as much as we can. Bill Johnson from South Carolina wants to know if you've ever been to a hidden underground base, and if so, do humans and ETs work there together on projects?
Yes, on both of those, been to several underground bases. None of them, I would say, are impressive or all sci-fi, Star Trekky. Um, they're pretty low tech, fairly noisy. A lot of the air handling systems are fairly loud. Um, but yes, the reptilians are there. I've never seen the Greys there. I've never seen the Greys outside of a ship. Outside of either being near their ship or on board their ships.
You talking the older, the taller ones, the mantids, primarchs, or the little shorter ones?
Any of them.
Okay.
Like even when I've seen the regular little Greys, it's either been in the house or by their ship, or in the ship. I've only ever seen the mantids in the ship. I've only seen the archons, which are like the medium class on a ship. I've seen the Archons out of their ship, like next to it a couple of times, but never in a base, never in a facility. I'm sure others have, but all the times I've ever seen um, extraterrestrials in one of our underground bases was always reptilians.
When you were in the underground bases and you said you saw humans, of course, and ETs, were they working on separate levels or working together?
Working together.
You saw things that blew your mind, though, and you were like, what the?
Oh, just seeing, reptilians walking around intermingled with humans. The underground bases, some of them are very deep. It depends on what technology they're working on, whether it could, you know, uh, anything that'd be, viral or contagious genetic material would be underground. Anything that might go boom would be underground. Anything that puts out a lot of energy that can be detected, any frequencies or energies that could be detected from space satellites would be underground. A lot of what we do is just in benign buildings right under your nose. A good example is right downtown New York at 33 Thomas Street. Anybody in New York that's listening, take a taxi, go to 33 Thomas Street there in New York. There's going to be your home of Project X, Skid Row. So much stuff goes on there. We call it the invisible building. At nighttime, it just looks like a black hole. It looks like a big empty space in the New York skyline.
Huh.
And people walk by it every day, have no clue. But once you see it, you see it, right? The invisible building. It's not invisible. It's just made to just disappear. But once you see it, you see it. A lot of it happens above ground. And yeah, believe me, when you see that building, in fact, you can probably Google it. Google 33 Thomas Street and you'll see what I mean.
33 Thomas Street. What's it look like?
I forget the word they
Like a
used to
gray
describe
building
it.
or just a regular building or?
It's gray. There's not a window. There's no external illumination.
Huh.
When you visit there, when you go to that building, you have to remain in cover the entire time. Which
Like a
means
cloak that cloaks you too?
no, it means no identification whatsoever. Nothing on your shirt, no uniform insignias, no clothing item worn by any official branch of the government. Nothing that could identify you in any way whatsoever. So when you're in that building, you are completely generic. Right? And you have to remain generic the entire time you're there. Anything you say must be generic. You must be generic. Your hair must be generic.
What's going on in there?
That is the hub for almost every dirty covert activity on the East Coast.
What are the things that would surprise us?
Absolutely everything you say and do on the telephone, on your computer, on your website, on Facebook, every bit of it routes through there.
See, that's not surprising to me. To me, that's like, of course, everything's recorded. Everything's recorded. We are recording our own history and our world's history. I mean, we're recording it every day. There's a reason that things are recorded, right? There's a reason. What is the reason for recording each and every one of us? Why is it that we have to record absolutely everything that is said and known? What is it that somebody is doing the research on that they need to know everything?
The more information they know about you, the more predictable your life becomes. The more predictable you are, the more that effectively their social models can be perfected to predict what you're going to do next, what the future trends are going to be, how to keep you in the system. If I know every move you're going to make for the rest of your life, I can exploit you every step of the way.
But you're talking individually. I thought you were talking everybody as a whole. There's somebody else, I think, that's bigger, that wants to know the wave of each one of us as individuals making up a whole. Somebody's recording us as, here's what the humans do. Here's what the earthlings do.
So the aliens don't need to do that kind of thing because they can access everything they need to know right through our DNA.
As a whole, that's still
That's a straight up human cabal, and they are tracking us individually and as a whole. Their dream would be to have an AI with access to every shred of data that they could possibly collect on you, right? Because it seems petty to you and I that we wouldn't want to know what kind of couch Connie's going to buy 5 years from now, right? But they want to know what kind of couch you're going to buy 5 years from now. And 5 years from now, you're going to get a message or an ad with exactly the couch you want popping up in your face. There's a perfect example of what these people have done to us and conditioned us. Like, they know you're going to want a couch. They know that we're constantly going to be motivated by things because they've created a world for us where we have a need for constant things. And that's the difference between us as a species and these higher extraterrestrials. That alien gray is never going to buy a couch. They don't have furniture stores. They don't sell couches. They don't sell cars. They don't buy things. There is no money, right? As long as we keep wanting couches and wanting the next model car, and they keep us chasing that endless carrot on the stick, we're going to keep spending our lives in service to them. We are going to work the jobs they want us to work to get the money that they created to give us, to then turn around and give them back. So really, we spend our entire lives from the cradle to the grave, and we get nothing out of it that's tangibly ours, right? We never own the land. We never own our homes. We never own our cars. There's always going to be a tax.
I get it, but what are we going to do? What are you going to do? What do you do? I mean, that's the way it is set up. That's what we're used to. So what do you do otherwise?
That's the huge question, and that's something that the human race is eventually going to have to figure out, is where we create a society like, as cliche as it sounds. Let's look at the Native Americans, for example, and other primitive tribes. Before the settlers showed up and taught the Indians what money and economics was, they didn't use it. They had a community, a society that worked and functioned for thousands of years. And we showed up and we taught them something else. Now look at them. Money in the pursuit of, hedonistic possessions is a system that we were born into, that keeps us slaves, right? We're born on this planet. Why do we have to buy land to live? Why do we have to pay to live at all? Right? Is that a natural state of existence? Do birds pay? Do squirrels pay? How do we get ourselves out of this situation? And that's something I don't have the answer to. I don't think anybody really does.
But the elite hired you on and would say, here's the situation, here's our goal, figure it out because of your intellect and your IQ. So, okay, let's throw it back at you from all of us. Here's the situation. There's our goal.
Yeah, I worked on many projects and did many things for these people that
what about
ultimately made our lives worse. I was a participant.
All right. So you're the perfect person to go around the other way, because I hear the passion in you.
Yeah,
so
I was a willing participant, and like I said in the first interview, I didn't always disagree with their desired outcome. I may have disagreed with their means, but when they said we need to cull a majority of the population, I could see the merit in that. I didn't have any objection to it. But over the years, when I saw, that it wasn't going to be a fair system, right? If we have to lose a majority of the population, but it's through just a fair, random, arbitrary thing, some live, some die, but nobody should be making that decision who lives and who dies. And that's how these people see themselves, and where I started being disgusted with the thing is they saw it as their God-given right to decide for us who lives and who dies.
Informant. What you just heard has never been heard anywhere else. This is Connie Willis, the podcast. Informant. Learn more about Connie, her guests, and be sure to join her private membership shows, Blue Rock Talk and Connie After Dark, at ConnieWillis.com. Whistleblower.